No.
Hi, my name is John, and I'm a computer science student at the University of South Florida. I study mostly artificial intelligence and robotics, and a lot of my work has been dedicated to my passion for this field, and I will specifically be pursuing a doctorate degree in this area. I've developed a course specifically for other people with similar passions of learning and producing artificially intelligent programs and computer agents. If you have no prior experience to programming, artificial intelligence, game theory, look no further. This is where you're going to be able to learn all of those important concepts. I'm going to be starting this course talking mostly about Python programming language and building up the knowledge that you would basically receive in a academic, I would say even like collegiate level course. And then we're going to be building off of those principles to come up with some sort of idea of what game theory is. If you've never heard of game theory is essentially if I have a checkerboard, what are all the possible moves that I can make, but how do I even structure making those moves, right? Because you might have a checkerboard, but how do you actually modify that checkerboard in a program, right? If you've never even seen programming, you're probably wondering, what the hell am I talking about? But don't worry, because we're going to be covering all of these things in this course. And that's why it's super important that if you're interested in this stuff, that you should fully dive into this course and take as much information as you can. Because for me, when I first started, I was kind of iffy of where I start. I started actually building Minecraft servers and Minecraft plugins and Minecraft mods. If you're familiar with Minecraft, back in the day there was a huge community around building these little things that you could add into your game. And that's kind of how I got introduced to programming. But there was no real clear guide in how to do that, right? There was no real clear guide in how to actually modify the game in a good way. There were a few tutorials out there, and there was a few other ways that you could kind of learn how to take other people's work and kind of just translate it over into that field. But, that's not always the best way to learn, because I spent probably 2 or 3 years learning a bunch of things that when I actually came to university, I realized I did this the completely wrong way before, and thank God I learned the right way, because it makes it a lot easier to deal with and a lot easier to manage. Now, we're not going to be building Minecraft mods in this tutorial, don't worry. What we're going to be doing is building really simple games that kind of introduce the ideas of how to manage a computer program that does something kind of cool, right? The next thing that we're going to do is, how do you manage a computer program that does something cool on its own, right? We're going to build on top of these ideas, starting with programming, building up to game theory, and talk a lot more about what that actually is. And then we're going to be finishing on how you could actually take game theory and apply it and learn or teach a computer how to learn to play that game that you've created. And that is essentially what interests me deeply, and I've been really interested in this field for a while. And if you are passionate at all about maybe learning programming, game theory, or how to solve problems with AI, then look no further. This is the course for you. Okay, so now if you take a look at my screen, what you should see is a little snake. You might be wondering if that is a snake or not. And this little red box, right? This little red box represents an apple that the snake is trying to eat. And every time that the snake eats it, it's going to increment the size of its body and then increment the score in the top right. Very simple game. There's not a lot going on here, but it's definitely enough to get the basic concepts of programming, the basic concepts of AI, and the basic concepts of artificial intelligence through machine learning down before we actually move on to more complicated topics. Now, What I want to stress here is that this whole environment that you're looking at, now you might be wondering, what am I talking about when I say environment? I'm talking about all of the black boxes, all of the boxes containing the snake, and then also the apple, right? This is the environment. The environment is essentially the place in which the player must operate. It's almost like if you're going to school and you sit in your desk, the school is the environment and the student is the player, right? Now let's stop this. You can see all of this information over here. What all of this information is basically talking about, right? Let me just make it a little bigger. You're basically seeing a couple things here, right? Where it is some feedback from the environment, just general feedback, but you also have these actions that the player is taking, that would be me, and then also these reward or feedback values that it's getting back from the environment, right? Okay, so what does all of this mean? Well, let's consider the scenario where you have a student and a teacher. The student has an exam that they must take, and the teacher must grade the exam that the student takes. The student completes the exam, let's say it's a multiple choice, you're going to circle your answers, you're going to give that to the teacher. The teacher is going to give you back a graded exam, hopefully with the correct answers labeled, right? That's a very crucial part to this, right? So then the student is going to go through all of the answers that they put and then see which ones they got correct. You did a good job here, and then see which ones they got incorrect. That's the most important part, is that they're gonna be able to see where they went wrong and where they could have improved, right? If you're going to take a test and get 100 every single time, there's really no room for improvement. You're already doing the best you could possibly do. But that's never really the case, especially when you're dealing with complex environments like the one that I wouldn't really say our snake is operating in, but let's now change this and say Tesla's autopilot, right? Tesla's autopilot can be broken down into the same two concepts, right? You have your car that is driving, and then you have your environment being the road and all of the other cars and all of the other drivers that are operating in that same environment, in that same space. And the car has to be able to maneuver around to get you from point A to point B. You could essentially say that the goal of the car or the player, right? Because the car is essentially driving. You consider that playing the game of driving. The car is trying to get you, the person inside of the car, from point A to point B. How is it going to do that? It's going to use all of the information that it's able to take from the environment, the camera footage, the sound, maybe it has some sort of memory. Obviously it has a GPS, right? You're not really going to get anywhere these days without a GPS, at least me. And then maybe also the experience of previous drivers, right? That's another big piece, right? Is because just because you've taken the test, if I've never told you anything about that test, never told you what's on it, maybe just asked you a bunch of random questions that you've never seen before and expected you to maybe try to answer them correctly. Now, one of the ways you might approach that is, okay, I have some understanding of how this stuff works. Maybe this is the best choice, right? That is essentially learning, and you not learning but executing based on previous experience, right? You have some internal biases, you have some sort of piece inside of your brain that says that is probably the best answer, right? You can't really explain where it comes from, but I would go with that answer, right? That's kind of using your implicit biases to operate through some sort of scenario. Great. Okay. Now, what about the car, right? Let's say your Tesla autopilot had never seen the road before. Are you going to want to get in that car? No. The reality is, in order for that autopilot to work, it needs to have a lot of experience, a lot of seeing how things work to understand it more concretely. Right? And you could see this if you actually Google any sort of video pertaining to Tesla's autopilot system. But that's really where we're going to hone in on this course. If that interests you, then please join me. Real quickly, I'm going to go through one of my, let not this one. Let's go through day 1. So this is a paid version of this course where you will actually get notes and all of that stuff along with all of the practice problems, and you could also follow along with the course that we will be doing such that you could end up at the same place. This makes it a lot easier. This kind of hand walks you through everything. So if you're having trouble following along with the free version of this course, then maybe you should go take a look at this. But essentially what this is doing is it's just going to run through all of the basics of Python and basically hold your hand through the entire process.
Should we